What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and the Red Sox actually had a pretty decent offensive year despite how their record ended up. They had the 9th most runs scored per game in baseball in 2022, but one of the things that was definitely lacking throughout this entire season was their home run power. They had the 11th fewest home runs in baseball in 2022, and they also had their lowest total team home runs since 2014. But why am I telling you guys all of this? Well, because one of the big things the Red Sox are trying to focus on this offseason is bringing some power to this lineup. Some of that does have to do with injuries and guys staying healthy, but you need to fill holes in this lineup where there wasn't really a ton of home run production. You could do that one of two ways. You can either go out into free agency and bring in a guy who has home run power, who can slot into this lineup and make a difference right away, or the Red Sox can try and trade for it. And the best position right now on this team that needs that home run type pop is an outfielder. So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about some of the top trade targets for the Boston Red Sox when it comes to outfielders and bringing that home run potential back to the Boston Red Sox. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It helps these videos out a ton and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Just a quick disclaimer, like I say at the beginning of all my trade videos, there are about a million different possibilities for the Boston Red Sox to trade for this offseason. So if there's a guy not on this list that you think needs to be on this list, let me know who that is in the comment section down below. I'd love to see who you guys are targeting for the Red Sox to bring in 2023. Now, the guys I have on my list starts with Bryan Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates. In 2021, Bryan Reynolds really broke out onto the scene. He got his first All-Star appearance. He hit over 300. He had 24 home runs, and he really made a name for himself in baseball. 2022 wasn't exactly that same All-Star performance, but he still had a pretty good year. He hit 262 for average with an 807 OPS and a 126 OPS plus. Most importantly, though, he still brought that power. He ended the year with 27 home runs and 64 RBIs. I think the RBI total is a little bit lower because of the lack of offense that the Pittsburgh Pirates had this year. On top of that, Bryan Reynolds is also a switch hitter, which would add a lot of versatility to this lineup. He's got some speed as well, which could be good on the base pass, especially with the bigger bases this year. And he's not exactly a defensive wizard in center field, but he'd definitely be a serviceable outfielder in either of the corner positions at Fenway Park. On top of all of that, Bryan Reynolds would also not be a free agent until 2026, meaning that with Bryan Reynolds on this team, you have a longer term solution, hopefully, to this Red Sox power problem. Now, the big issue with Bryan Reynolds is getting him here on this team. He's a cornerstone player for the Pittsburgh Pirates, meaning that he is one of the faces of that franchise. And not that the Pirates are going to be super competitive anytime soon, but they are starting to make strides to become more competitive. Extensions to keep Ryan Hayes, bringing up O'Neal Cruz, stuff like that. And getting rid of Bryan Reynolds would kind of hinder that, so it may be a little bit difficult to get him out of the hands of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But everyone has a price, and Bryan Reynolds, while steep, is not impossible. Taking a look at the Pirates situation right now, their problems run pretty deep. But one of the biggest problems with this Pirates team is their pitching staff. Now, to get Bryan Reynolds off of the Pittsburgh Pirates, maybe you throw at him a couple of top pitching prospects as well as maybe a couple of top position prospects. Again, it would be a pretty expensive get. But if the Red Sox genuinely wanted to make a splash and get a player that would bring in home run power and be a longer term solution to this issue, Bryan Reynolds could be that guy. The trick would be getting him here. Now, the second guy I want to talk about on this list is a guy who's a little bit more realistic, a little bit bringing this down to earth a little bit more than Bryan Reynolds, and that's Adolis Garcia of the Texas Rangers. Adolis Garcia had a great year last year with the Texas Rangers. He hit 250 with a 756 OPS and a 113 OPS plus. Again, most importantly out of these statistics is his home run total, and Adolis Garcia had a bunch. He ended with 27 home runs this year and 101 RBIs. He's also a fairly decent outfielder who could be serviceable in either corner like we've been talking about, and he also spends some time at DH, making him a little bit versatile in when it comes to where you can put him in this lineup. Like we talked about in our DH video, one of the big things I think the Red Sox are going to look for in that DH position is versatility. If Adolis Garcia is used to playing a DH position as well as a corner outfield position, it may make that a little bit easier. Garcia is also under control until 2027, again making him a longer term solution to this problem, and on top of that, he was only paid $770,000 last year, making him a little bit more of an inexpensive option than Bryan Reynolds. Now again, like Bryan Reynolds, the cost to get Garcia here would be fairly high. Now, he doesn't have the same value as Reynolds, but like we talked about with Brian Reynolds, the Texas Rangers are also trying to be competitive once again. They made some big moves last offseason. Rumor has it they're trying to make some big moves this offseason. So we don't really know to what extent they would be willing to trade Adolis Garcia for. But taking a look again at the Texas Rangers problems, their pitching is abysmal. So a package for Garcia could look something like Thaddeus Ward, Walter, and Winkowski, the triple W's, right? You add in some pitching depth to this Texas Rangers roster. A couple of those guys are close to being major league ready. Maybe Winkowski's potential isn't super high, but Walter's potential is fairly high, and Ward's been killing it lately. So that might be an appealing package for the Texas Rangers. Adolis Garcia isn't as valuable as Brian Reynolds, but he brings that home run power that we've been missing. He's serviceable on defense, and he can fit into that DH hole pretty well. In my opinion, this is a pretty decent pick when looking at guys who can bring home run potential to the Boston Red Sox. But again, the cost is pretty high. You're losing some of that pitching depth that the Red Sox have finally built up over the years to get a guy who can hit home runs here for a while. Now, the last guy on this list that we are talking about today, in my opinion, is the most realistic option when it comes to actual trades that the Red Sox may make this offseason, and that's Ramon Laureano of the Oakland Athletics. Ramon Laureano is a bit of a risk. He has a bit of a past. He was suspended for PEDs, and in 2022, he had a little bit of a down year where he hit only .211 with a .663 OPS and a 92 OPS plus. But he also didn't play an entire season either. And in 93 games, he had 13 home runs, meaning that the potential for a pop in that bat is there. It just hasn't fully developed yet because he hasn't played a full season in a little bit. He's also definitely an above average right fielder, which could either work out really well in right field at Fenway Park or could make him a pretty elite defender in left field at Fenway Park. The best news with Ramon is that he plays for the A's. The A's are notorious for waiting until a player has reached his potential and is probably going to demand a relatively expensive contract and trade him away. Now, Ramon is still under arbitration until 2025, so you do get some pretty decent years before you actually have to pay him legitimate money. And again, it's a longer term solution to this home run problem. The problem with Ramon Laureano is what I just mentioned. It's high risk, high reward. Potential is there to be a all-star hitter, but at the same time too, it comes with the background that Ramon had. He's had injuries. He got suspended in 2021 for PEDs. So there's a little bit of history there with Ramon Laureano. But when I'm looking at the Red Sox making trades, this trade to me makes perfect sense for this front office. Buy a guy who's at his lowest point right now in terms of value and see if you can bring that potential out of him without having cost yourself too much. We're talking about a trade package that would probably either be Bobby Dahlbeck or Duran and Siebold or Winkowski. You throw in a Jeter Downs, you throw in something like that. Guys who haven't truly performed at the major league level yet, who may just need a change of scenery, a change of coaching, something like that to get them to the next level and aren't super valuable in this Red Sox system because once again, Ramon Laureano isn't going to cost you a ton because of the other stuff, but the potential is there to be a legitimate force in this Red Sox lineup. So in my opinion, of the three we are talking about today, Ramon Laureano seems like the most realistic one for the Red Sox in this current state to go after this off season. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, which player of these three would you guys go after? Would you go after the big ticket, the sort of medium ticket, or the small ticket that could have big value? Which one of these would you guys choose? And like I said at the beginning, if there's a player not on this list that you think the Red Sox need to go after this offseason when it comes to power outfield bats, let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of everything down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, you made it to the end of this video, you might as well hit that sub button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seat.